Hello and welcome. This will be another video on modern point-and-click adventure games. Not a top 10 this time around, but great games that would definitely earn their spot on that list. And games that either recently came out or that I just recently discovered for myself. Let's go! Crimson Diamond is most likely the game you've already heard about if you're interested in adventure games, because there was quite a lot of buzz in the recent month about it. The game just naturally stands out with its beautiful 16-color pixel art that we don't get to see as often these days. It's not only reminiscent in style to classic adventure games though, because it opts for a text parser interface instead of the more modern point and click. That had me a bit disappointed at first, because I really prefer the point and click interface over typing text, but I also see the upside that this kind of interaction has, where you are more free to explore and find all the little description and gags that are hidden in the game world. So I would not argue that one is better than the other. I think in the end that comes down to preference. The puzzles fittingly revolve a lot about exploring and finding items or stumbling into scenes and dialogue to learn more about the characters and their motivations. The premise is that a fisherman found a diamond in a fish, and now it's up to our main protagonist Nancy to go over there and find out if there are more diamonds for a mineralogy exhibit. You will meet a bunch of colorful characters at the lodge where you're staying. Suffice to say that this is not your ordinary field trip, but there is murder and intrigue involved. Though the story is a bit predictable and the characters a bit shallow, it's still great fun to engage in this murder mystery, as the game never wastes your time and moves the plot forward at a decent speed. I really did enjoy the writing. It never felt too campy or too serious, and it was mostly on point, not ending up in long text boxes that you don't want to read, maybe if you're lazy like me. The text parser worked well enough for me, with some instance where it wanted to be overly specific, where I just didn't get the right sentence, but fortunately there is an integrated hint book that will open a website, so you will never get stuck if you don't know what to do. I was quite surprised that after some while I found out that you can die in the game, and unfortunately it's quite harsh. If you have not saved beforehand, you have to reload an older save game, but the game does auto-saving from time to time, so it's not that bad. Still, I would have preferred that you would be set back right before you die automatically. So yeah, if you dig the look of the game, you should definitely play it. I mean, there's not much similar around, and if you don't mind the text parser, you will have a great time with the Crimson Diamond.
I need your help, Detective. I need you to find out who I am.
Oh, come on. I swear this never happens.
Voodoo Detective mainly caught my attention because nowadays we don't get so many 2D point-and-click adventure games that are not pixel art but instead highly detailed hand-drawn graphics. I've stumbled upon this more or less by accident, and I wonder if it was a big hit because I never heard of it before, which would be a shame because it's a really great game. You play as the titular Voodoo Detective, and it's your job to find out the identity of a woman that has lost her memory. As the name already suggests, there's a lot of voodoo magic going on here, which you also need to invoke yourself to solve the case. The game is very light-hearted and full of humor, though I have to say that's more of a weak point to me in this case, because not every joke lands, and especially the protagonist seems not very likable to me. But that already sums up pretty much everything negative for me about the game, because the rest is really great. You have these beautiful, exotic locations, a story that strings you along very nicely, and a jazzy soundtrack to die for. The gameplay and overall puzzle design also were up there for me. I would say that in general it's more on the easy side, but there are a few real head scratchers in there as well. All in all, it makes for a very pleasant playthrough, a bit like going on a nice long vacation. Well, though the game is not overly long, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. So if you're looking for a game with high production values and great animations and enjoy the overall Caribbean vibe, I would say look over a few missed jokes and have fun with this one. A bit of a Schrödinger's cat situation here. We might have hit 1000 subscribers already when this video is uploaded, or not, because we are just 2 subscribers short. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you for your support, and if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, there will be more retro gaming videos in the future, and let's hit the next 1000 subscribers. We've got another detective sleuthing around, but this time no voodoo involved, just politics and science fiction, and quite a few hard decisions you have to make down the line. This is a very non-linear game, and actually one of the few where I really struggle to make those decisions because of just how much is at stake here. You play as Neil Conrad, CDI agent, trying to solve a murder case and not get entangled in a political web of corruption, intrigue and ethical ramifications. You navigate your character with a keyboard through this pretty, sometimes gritty, futuristic city, talking to people, finding the clues and trying to get to the right conclusions. Without going too much into spoilers, the case you're on will start relatively harmless but surprise you with some nice twists and turns, building a lot of suspense on the way. There are several occasions where you can actually fail a puzzle, but that won't directly lead to a game over, it will just change how the narrative progresses. So there's a lot of replay value, but it comes with a caveat: you don't have free saving, you just have one save slot to stick to all the decisions you've made. Generally the puzzles are very straightforward and the game doesn't concern itself too much with it, it's more about driving the story forward and living with the consequences of the decisions you make along the way. I really enjoyed the moody, slightly pessimistic atmosphere of the game, reminding me a lot of those old film noir movies. If you're in for a bit of a more serious experience and enjoy the pixel art on display here, I would say definitely don't miss out on this one.
Well, that was a horrendous way to start the day. Although, my dad mentioned something last night that might help with my nightmares.
Lucid dreaming should have been the perfect game for me, so it hurts that much more that it just isn't. Don't get me wrong, it's close, it's still a really great game. It got tons of charm, really great writing, and it's one of the few games that really nails the 90s point-and-click adventure humor. You play as Lucy, a bit of an, let's say, unusual kid in a very unusual family. You try to overcome the nightmares that plague you at night, and while doing that you uncover the real reasons why you have this nightmare and the bigger story behind it. The story is chock full of strange characters, strange events, and a world that is just so slightly off that it makes for a very amusing and entertaining environment. There are tons of little details in each nook and cranny that makes exploring the rooms a really great time. Combine that with a beautiful and detailed pixel art and it becomes very hard to resist the game's charm. On top of that, you not only have good voice acting but memorable voice acting, granting every character a very unique personality.
What nozzle are we talking about exactly?
It's the end of my oil thermometer. Without a clear nozzle I can't get the oil to the right temperature, and there's no way I'm serving under-ripe chips.
Quite right too.
This game definitely passes the wipe check. So what's keeping this game from being perfect? Is it the puzzles? Not necessarily. I actually quite enjoyed those as well. Though the puzzle balance is a bit off, there are a few puzzles that are extremely easy, more akin to fetch quests, and then there are a few that are quite complicated and even have a certain extent of moon logic involved in them. Not the biggest offenders, but I was still glad that I had a walkthrough at hand. My main gripe is with one of the core mechanics of the game, the dream switching. Throughout the game you collect different items that you can put in your dream box, and the combination of those items affects the dream that you are having. These dreams can become quite extensive with multiple rooms and characters. And in order to progress in one dream you sometimes have to travel to another dream and sometimes have to change the configuration of that dream with the items you have put in the box as well. This does sound quite interesting in theory, and when it works, it really is. There were some puzzles I really enjoyed traveling between the dreams. But unfortunately others more degraded to trial and error for me, as it becomes harder and harder to keep track of all the different configurations. Adding insult to injury, switching between the dreams is not very convenient. You have to take out the items of the box, put the new items in the box, you have to switch to your pajamas, go in bed, then wait an animation that you can skip, and then you are always at the start of the dream and might have to walk to the destination where you actually want to go. That's not so bad if you had to do it once or twice, but you have to do it multiple times over, and in the long run it got really annoying to me. That might sound like a nitpick, and yes, my frustration tolerance levels are quite low, but it just could have been easily avoided. Another nitpick I have with the game is a bit of the storyline. I think generally it's fine, it keeps you interested, but the ending didn't feel very satisfying to me personally, and I wish we could have interacted more with the persons involved in the background story throughout the game, but we never actually see them. Which makes total sense from the story point of view, but I just wish maybe there had been a flashback or something where we could have actually played and interacted with them, similar to the scenes in Thimbleweed Park, I would say. Still, I enjoyed it for the most time, as it keeps you guessing for quite a while and there's quite a lot of stuff to discover. The final piece of the puzzle that's missing for the game to be one of the greatest of all time is the music, in my opinion. Not that it's bad, it's fine, but it's quite repetitive to the extent that it really became annoying to me in some places. Now, I've listed so many negative points that you could come to the conclusion that I'm not recommending the game, but it could be further from the truth. This is a great game, I wholeheartedly recommend playing it. It's just so you know that it's not perfect and you know what to expect. So these have been 4 great modern point-and-click adventure games. I hope you give at least one of them a try, keeping the genre alive and healthy. If you have suggestions for modern point-and-click adventure games that I have not covered yet, please leave them in the comments below, I will surely check them out. I hope you had a good time watching this video, and with that, see ya!